Yemen, a land of ancient civilizations, of towering mountains and vast deserts, of poets and warriors. A land where history is not just written, but lived. Every street, every ruin, every scar whispering the echoes of an empire that once controlled the trade routes of the world. Yet today, Yemen is not known for its grandeur, but for its suffering, not for its poetry, but for its war. And at the heart of this war lies a question that few dare to ask. Why does Yemen, despite being part of the Arab world, find itself closer to Iran than to its own neighbors? To understand this, we must travel back in time, long before the modern borders of the Middle East were drawn. The story begins with the Zaydis, a sect of Shia Islam that has existed in northern Yemen for over 1,000 years. Unlike the Twelver Shia of Iran, the Zaydis are distinct in their beliefs, yet their governance system, a theocracy ruled by an imam, bears a striking resemblance to Iran's modern political structure. For centuries, Yemen was ruled by these imams, until the revolution of 1962 toppled the Zaydi imamate and replaced it with a republic. But history is not so easily erased, and the fall of the imamate left a void that would be filled decades later. Fast forward to 1979. The Iranian Revolution sends shockwaves through the Middle East. For the first time in centuries, a Shia theocracy emerges, led by Ayatollah Khomeini, and its message is clear. Islamic governance must replace corrupt monarchies. The revolution resonates not just with Shia Muslims, but with all those who feel oppressed, abandoned, or disenfranchised. And in the mountains of northern Yemen, a movement is beginning to take shape. The Houthis, officially known as Ansar Allah, are born out of this turmoil. Originally a religious revivalist group, they evolve into a military and political force, fighting against what they see as Saudi-backed suppression of their beliefs. But fighting alone is never enough. Power needs allies, and an alliance is forged. Iran steps in, not as a friend, but as a strategic patron, supplying weapons, training, and intelligence. The Houthis, once a small group of rebels, grow into a powerful force, capturing the Yemeni capital, Sana'a, in 2014 and sending shockwaves across the region. Saudi Arabia, the self-proclaimed leader of the Sunni Muslim world, sees this as an existential threat. In 2015, a Saudi-led coalition launches a military intervention, expecting a swift victory. But war has a way of defying expectations. The Houthis, hardened by years of conflict and backed by Iranian expertise, do not fall. Instead, they fight back with increasing sophistication, using missiles and drones that bear the unmistakable mark of Iranian technology. The war drags on. Cities are bombed, civilians suffer, and Yemen becomes the world's worst humanitarian crisis. But amidst the rubble, something else is happening. The Houthis are no longer just a Yemeni faction. They are now part of Iran's wider network of influence, a crucial piece in the so-called axis of resistance that stretches from Tehran to Baghdad, from Damascus to Beirut, and now to Sana'a. And then the world's greatest superpower steps in. March 15, 2025. The United States, under President Donald Trump, launches a massive military strike against the Houthis. The justification? Protecting global trade, preventing Iranian expansion, and retaliating for attacks on Red Sea shipping routes. The result? Over 30 dead, over 100 injured, most of them civilians. A message sent, but to whom? To the Houthis? To Iran? To Saudi Arabia? Or to the world, reminding everyone that in the great game of geopolitics, Yemen is just another battleground. But this war is not just about bombs and missiles. It is a war of narratives. The Saudis claim they are fighting to restore Yemen's legitimate government. The Houthis say they are resisting foreign aggression. Iran denies direct involvement while celebrating every Houthi victory. And the United States? It enters and exits the battlefield as it pleases, a giant whose footsteps leave craters but whose goals remain unclear. Yet amidst the power struggles of nations, the real victims remain the Yemeni people. A generation is growing up knowing nothing but war. A land once known for its poets and merchants is now defined by hunger and airstrikes. And so, we return to our question. Why is Yemen closer to Iran than to its Arab neighbors? Perhaps the answer lies not in history, nor in sectarian divides, but in betrayal. For decades, Yemen looked to its Arab brothers for support, for investment, for unity. And what did it receive? Bombs from the sky, blockades from the sea, and silence from the world. Iran did not give Yemen prosperity, nor did it offer peace, but it gave something else, an identity, a purpose, a resistance. And in a land where hope is scarce, sometimes that is enough. As the war escalates, a new dynamic emerges. The Houthis, once seen as a regional nuisance, are now a central player in a broader conflict. Their ability to strike Saudi oil facilities, target Red Sea shipping lanes, and disrupt the Gulf's stability puts them at the center of international diplomacy. Iran, despite facing economic sanctions and internal unrest, continues to see Yemen as a crucial card in its strategic game. The Saudi-led coalition, exhausted by years of conflict, faces mounting pressure from Western allies to negotiate. And the United States? Its priorities shift with each administration, oscillating between direct intervention and diplomatic maneuvering. Meanwhile, the humanitarian toll worsens. Over 80% of Yemen's population relies on aid, famine looms over millions, and the infrastructure lies in ruins. The war's economic impact is felt far beyond Yemen's borders, with disruptions in global oil supply and shipping routes. What was once a localized conflict has become a linchpin in global stability. The future remains uncertain. Will Yemen find a way to reclaim its sovereignty, free from external influence? Will diplomacy prevail, or will the conflict spiral further into a proxy war between regional and global powers? One thing is clear: Yemen, once the jewel of Arabia, now stands at the center of a conflict far greater than itself, and the world is watching.